Hello everyone, this is Chloe who is dreaming to study abroad at NYU. And in the first episode, I led everyone into the difference among Chinese public high schools, US high schools, and international high schools. And there's something that I mainly focus on for Chinese public high schools, which is the Gaokao exam. I mentioned in the first episode that Gaokao originated from an ancient imperial exam called Keju in ancient China. And for this episode, I'm going to take you back to Sui Dynasty to check how did the imperial exam eventually became the modern Gaokao exam. And let's get going. Chinese history lasts for about 5,000 years, and it would take a really long time to explain all the details about the history from Keju to Gaokao. So I kind of simplified and organized some of the information of the history to explain the process. I just want you to know that there might be something that I didn't tell you in the video, which might make you a bit confused, but I will try my best to illustrate the history for you. The imperial examination system, which in other words, Keju, was established in 605 AD during the Sui Dynasty. We assume it is for finding talented people, but here's the thing. Its original purpose wasn't really about selecting talents. It was all about strengthening imperial power. Back then, the aristocratic families had grown way too powerful, almost rivaling the imperial court itself. So, to keep the emperor's authority in check, the Keju exam was established to replace the 9-rank system where powerful noble families controlled appointments, seriously weakening centralized imperial rule. In 587 AD, Emperor Wen of Sui introduced subject-based exams considering moral character and practical skills, marking the first attempts to recruit talent from humble backgrounds through standardized testing. Then, in 605 AD, Emperor Yang of Sui created the Jingshi exam, focusing on poetry and policy essays, emphasizing ability over family background. This allowed scholars from lower-class families to rise into positions of power, gradually weakening the influence of the aristocratic clans. By the Tang Dynasty, the system became more refined. The number of exam subjects expanded from just 3 to over 50, and the evaluation criteria grew more diverse. It wasn't just about written test scores, students' everyday works and reputations were also considered. So many noble families would bribe examiners beforehand, meaning most top rankings were predetermined. Elite families still dominated the system. The Tang exams heavily emphasized poetry, as rulers believed it reflected a scholar's overall cultivation. But let's be honest, writing fancy poems doesn't necessarily mean someone could actually govern a country. To pass exams, scholars obsessed over flowery, allusion-heavy writing instead of studying practical skills like economics or military strategy. As a result, the system became rigid, turning into what we now call exam-oriented education. Over time, corruption only got worse. The Song dynasty adopted a prioritized scholar over soldier's policy, believing in ruling the country alongside scholar officials. The exam system became much more stricter under the Song kingdom, with 3 key supporting systems. Firstly, locked compound system. Once examiners were chosen, they were immediately quarantined in the exam compound and cut off from outside contact. Plus, if an official's relative passed, they had to take a follow-up test. Additionally, name covering system. Personal details such as name, age, or hometown of the candidates were replaced with code numbers, and results were only revealed after grading. Finally, the copying office system. To prevent hidden markings or coded messages, all exam papers were recopied by scribes before being sent to the Ministry of Rights for grading, to keep the fairness between the candidates. But there was no standardized answer key, which means different examiners could interpret the same poem differently, meaning some talented candidates still slipped through the cracks. In the Yuan dynasty, Emperor Renzong announced that all exam answers should follow Zhu Xi's interpretations of the 4 books and 5 classics, making grading more objective. Then came the Ming Dynasty, when the infamous 8-legged essay took center stage. These essays were rigidly structured, capped at 700 Chinese characters, and obsessed with form. Scholars droned endlessly on these templates, but the strict rules on topics, content, and format ended up stifling creativity. There is an old saying in China to describe the situation. Close your ears to worldly affairs. Focus only on the classics. With minds tightly controlled, scholars stopped thinking outside the box. And only a few dared rebel, which only deepened imperial control. By the Qing dynasty, the flaws of the 8-legged essays were obvious. This intellectual straitjacket was holding this country back. Meanwhile, in 16th century Europe, the Renaissance and Reformation were sparking new ideas. As society progressed, the imperial exams just couldn't keep up. Seeing China fall further behind the West, the Qing court finally abolished the 1300-year-old system of Keju in 1905. Before the founding of New China, there was no unified national exams. Top universities mostly recruited students independently. In 1949, when the People's Republic of China was established, about 80% of China's population were illiterate. To improve education, the National College Entrance Exam, which is Gaokao, was introduced in 1952. From the Sui dynasty through Tang, Song, Yuan, Ming, Qing dynasties, and the Republic era, then into New China, China's examination system evolved from its crude imperial roots into today's Gaokao, and it's still improving step by step.
So after 1,400 years, from Emperor Yang's exam halls to modern Gaokao battlefields, one thing stays the same. Education changes lives. But here's my question to you. Do you think standardized exams are fair, or do you think we should ditch exams altogether? Let me know in the comments below. And all in all, whether it's Gaokao or Keju, or even other education methods from such international high schools or US high schools, the best test is the one that you design for yourself. And I'll see you next time in my next episode.